And welcome to the team guide for Viking 2020 in the Norwegian Eliteserien. I'm Steve Wiss, and this is brought to you by the Nordic Football Podcast. And I guess that is the first place to start. We don't call them Viking, its pronunciation is Viking. And they're a team from a city called Stavanger on the west coast of Norway. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Last year they did really well. They finished 5th and they won the Norwegian Cup. Big rivalry with Brann on the west coast there, and they've got a big stadium, Viking Stadion, nearly 16,000. I think they will miss their fans a bit behind closed doors. They might lose a bit of edge from there. They've got a great manager in Bjarne Berntsen, and I think they could well finish certainly in the top 6 again. So they're a good side to keep an eye on with a load of different stuff. So let's have a look exactly whereabouts they are in Norway, right on that west coast, as I say, in the city of Stavanger. And they do have a really close rivalry with Sandnes, but they're in the second division. So Brann is also a massive rivalry. Really modern stadium. I don't know exactly when it was built, maybe late 90s, something like that, early 2000s. But it's a lovely place to watch football there. And let's have a look at the Vikings' start then. And they've definitely got a mixed bag. They've got 3 sides who I think are going to finish in the bottom 3. Mjøndalen, Sandefjord and Start are all in that first 6 games, which they could certainly tuck into there. At the same time, they've got some tricky games. Brann away is a local derby match. They've got Vålerenga away as well, which won't be easy, and Bodø/Glimt at home first game. Might be interesting, not easy but not hard. I don't know, I think maybe it could be a few goals in that game, but sort of a mixture of fixtures. I think the biggest problem with Viking, and it was the same last year when they were rotating the squad because they were focusing on the cup, is they've got a big squad, and it's really hard sometimes to predict who's going to start, even in goal. I mean, at the moment I think they've got 2 players who are pronounced very similar, Østbø and Østbø. I mean, I'm not going to be the judge of the accents there, but it looks like the Østbø is injured at the moment. He's got a problem, but I think in time it's going to be quite hard to predict who's going to be in goal. Maybe they might even rotate it. I think in defence, a really young guy worth watching out for is Adrian Nielsen Pereira, but he doesn't come cheap at 6 million. He's the same price as Andre Bjørkan at Bodø/Glimt, for example. It's quite steep, isn't it? But I think he's going to go really well. In midfield, I mean, there's probably the one guy to look out for is Jan de Lanle, who's absolute quality. They've signed him from Rosenborg. He used to reside in Viking himself, grew up there. And 7.5 million will look very cheap if he gets fit and he starts producing the goods on the field. He's a great winger, very creative, highly skillful, but highly injury prone as well. Do you want that sort of guy around your team in Eliteserien fantasy in a season where there's going to be a lot of midweek games and mid-weekend games? I'm not sure about that. But keep your eye on him, because if he does get into a good sort of rhythm and good form, that 7.5 could look really cheap. And Berisha at 9 million is maybe a little bit steep, but I've got a feeling he's going to have a good year. Another player, watch out for his fitness. It can be up and down. And the big problem here is the manager does rotate the side a lot, or he did last year anyway. And if he's doing that last year when, alright, they did have some cup matches midweek, but he's surely going to do the same again with when the hectic schedule. So it's going to be quite hard to predict their 11, and it's especially if they've got a match, say, the day after the main bulk of fixtures start. It's going to be a bit of a gamble maybe about who's going to get them points. But there's a number of players who could all do well. Ibrahimaz did really well last year. I think Christopher Lockberg could potentially do something. Ferdel might get more minutes. It's really hard to exactly say. Tommy Hurland will get his starts up front. 8 million looks a bit steep. This is the problem with Viking. You just don't know. I could not tell you one player that's going to be like starting 27, 28 games if they stay fit. I just couldn't do that because the manager's going to mix and match it up a bit. So you got to sort of play it by week, and it's really hard to say who would I add if I had to add someone now. They've got some good fixtures coming up. Maybe see how the first 2 go, and then when Mjøndalen at home, see who's in form, who's doing it. I think if I had to pick one guy, it would be this left back, Pereira, because he's very exciting. But again, even he might not be playing every week and every match. So Viking, really interesting side, but there's a lot of difficult aspects in terms of fantasy with them as well. But I think they're going to do well. They've got a big squad. They're going to rotate it, and they'll probably finish in the top 6. So keep your eye on them. That's all we've got time for in this particular preview. Thanks very much for watching. As always, would greatly appreciate any likes, any subscribes to the channel, and we'll see you again very soon for some more Eliteserien and Team Guide fantasy content.